Hello book people, PT here with a new series I'm calling the Writer's Toolbox. So a little bit about this series. I think in the world of writing there is no secret weapon. There's no one cool trick that's going to make you an awesome writer, anything like that. But there are so much cool little things out there that are just going to help you a little bit. And I love learning new things. I'm always learning and always trying new approaches, whether it's taking classes, reading books, using new story development type tools. I love that stuff and I consume probably too much of it, but I'm almost always take one or two little things away from it, even if it isn't something that I implement fully the way that the author of the thing intended. So that's the point of this series. I'm going to introduce a few of those cool things that I keep in my toolbox, and maybe you can use them too in your own writing. This will probably be a monthly series. We'll see how it goes though, because I already have 15 ideas for it. Maybe I'll do it more frequently than that, but I'm thinking monthly right now. So let's get into it. The first one, the one that I want to talk about today, is the Storyclock notebook. I'm going to open it up and give you a better look at it in a second, but really the main idea behind it is that, a linear outline is cool and is interesting, but this is kind of a different way to view the outline of your story. It was created for screenwriters, but I found it really helpful for troubleshooting when I'm writing novels, especially when I get stuck. So let's take a look. This is the Storyclock notebook. It's pretty smallish, as you can see. And then if we kind of open it up, we can see the first section here is titled Research, and it has kind of an area to write down times and events. Basically, this was designed for screenwriters, and it was designed for if you want to watch movies and figure out how they did it as kind of a way to practice using the story clock. You can do that here. I have not done that. The second half of the book is the development section, and that's really what I want to focus on today. The example we're going to use, since I don't really want to show you the outline of an entire novel, just in case somebody stumbles upon it, I don't want to spoil it for them. I did a mock one of a story that we all are familiar with probably, and that is Hansel and Gretel. So I'm going to use this to kind of show you how I would use the story clock. So a little bit about the layout. So I've got the title up here, Gritty Hansel and Gretel Retelling. Again, this isn't something I'm actually writing, I'm just using it as an example. The date, and then over here, this is important, under ideas, the section they have for ideas, what I normally write there is the projected word count for the novel, and obviously that could change, I don't know for sure at this point, but I projected out, in this case I did 72,000 words, which is a fairly short novel, but the numbers work really well for this example, so that's why I did it. And then words per 5 minutes is 3,000. I'll explain what that means in a second. They've got a place for characters, for themes, etc. Then the right-hand side is really where the magic happens. So let's focus on that. So basically, as you can see, it's a circle broken in like a clock. There's a hash mark at every 5-minute mark. Weirdly, when they made this book, they didn't have quite enough hashes on the right side. I'm not sure what the purpose behind that is, but I just manually add those. So basically, each hash mark equals what would be 5 minutes on a clock. Since I know this is going to be 72,000 words total, I can break this down into how many, each hash mark, what word marker we're at each hash mark. So that's why on the previous page I wrote words per 5 minutes. I know when I get to that first hash mark, that should be about 3,000 words, 6,000 words, etc. And so I kind of wrote in 9 at the bigger hash marks, 9,000 words, at 3 o'clock is 18,000 words, 6 o'clock is 36,000 words, etc. And then when I finally get to 12 o'clock, that's the end of the story, 72,000 words. So let me explain a little bit about how I use this. I know it's probably not exactly how the makers intended it, but it's really helpful to me. And basically I use it as a troubleshooting tool. So when I am in the midst of a story and I'm stuck, that's kind of when I turn to this. And before I started using this and some other tools, generally when I would get stuck partway through a story, there was a couple ways I would handle that. I would either just wait and think about it and kind of wait for the muse or whatever to figure out what the problem was. And I did that a lot in my first few novels, and it does work. Eventually I would figure out the problem. The only issue with that is it can take a long time. And now I'm at a point in my writing career where I'm kind of counting on some of that writing income. I'm writing with co-writers sometimes. I'm writing for small presses sometimes, and I have deadlines I have to meet. So I can't really have the luxury of sitting down and thinking about it for 2 or 3 weeks. I need to figure out the story problem. The next way I tried to figure it out for a while was I just tried to plow through and keep going and just write my way out of the problem. That sometimes worked. The issue that I sometimes encountered, though, is that I'll often go write a chapter or 2 or 3 and then realize, oh no, I'm going down the wrong track. This doesn't work. This isn't the ideal situation, or I'll figure out a better solution, and I'll end up having to toss away, a week or 2 worth of writing sometimes, which is very frustrating. So I find this a very good method for when I get stuck. So here's kind of what I do. Generally, when I start a story, I don't have it all figured out. I don't sit down and map out exactly what's going to happen at every 3,000 word mark. I like it to be more organic than that, and I think I usually get better results because it's more organic than that. But what I do usually know at the beginning of the story is 4 or 5 kind of key scenes. I know that certain things are going to happen in the story, and those are usually the things that I'm really excited about, the things that are actually making me want to write the story. So what I'll often do, and I don't always do this at the beginning of the story, I might do it later if I get stuck, but I just go ahead and mark on the story clock, like, what are some of the key things I know that are going to happen, and about when-ish are they going to happen? So like here, I've got about 6,000 word mark. There's going to be a famine in Hansel and Gretel's area. About the 18,000 word mark, their stepmom's going to leave them in the forest. 36,000 mark, they're going to discover the witch's house. You can see my cool, strange, weird handwriting here. About 45,000 words, Hansel's going to use a bone to trick the witch into thinking he's not getting any fatter so she can eat him. 63,000 words, Gretel pushes the witch into the oven. So those, maybe I'm using those as the example of kind of the key scenes I'm super excited about writing. And what will usually happen is I'll get, part way down here, maybe I'll get to about 18,000 words, 21,000 words, and I'll get a little stuck. If that were to happen to me, I would first of all fill in all the hash marks that I have so far with all the things I've written so far. So up to the 21,000 word mark, kind of just a little, very brief description of what's happening in the chapters up until that point. And then what's cool about the story clock is it helps me figure out, like, let's say I'm stuck right at this point. I'm stuck at 27,000 words, and I don't know what comes next. Well, I can look ahead to the 36,000 word mark and say, okay, so that's my next big scene. What could I be doing to set up that scene, to give it more emotional impact? I could be thinking about that, or I could be going across the clock to Hansel uses the bone to trick the witch. Is there something I could set up for that? Like maybe Hansel and Gretel are walking through the forest and telling some story they heard about some legend that's going to in some way inspire Hansel to do that later on. I'm a big fan of mirroring, so like I always believe the halfway point of a story should be a big moment, and then I kind of like oftentimes try to at least thematically mirror what's happening across the clock. Again, this is not like a formula or something that's set in stone that it has to be. It's more of a troubleshooting tool. It's nice too because when I'm starting out, if these are my 5 key scenes, I can see they're pretty well paced out, but I've got a really big blank space here where no real big exciting scenes are happening. I've got another one here where there's a big blank space where no big key scenes are happening. So I can be thinking about that. How am I going to fill in those details? So that's just a little bit about the story clock. It's a nice visual way. Basically for me, what it really is just sitting down and thinking about the story in a slightly different way. I spend so many hours sitting in front of the keyboard, staring at the page, typing, things like that. And it's nice to just take pen to paper sometimes and do it in a visual layout that's just a little different. Sometimes just that little visual adjustment can change the way that I'm thinking about a story. Again, that's it's not like a secret weapon or a magic bullet. It's just one of the tools that I use in order to troubleshoot, to plan stories, and to kind of see my story all laid out in one cool visual place. You can do quite a few stories in here, and I bought a 3-pack of them. If you're interested in checking them out, you can go to plotdevices.co. I'm not like affiliated with them in any way, but I just think they make a cool product. I mean, you could certainly draw a circle and do the same process yourself in a notebook or even online or whatever. But I think this is a cool product, so I wanted to support them for coming up with this product. All right, so that is the Storyclock notebook. I hope you liked it. Like I said before, you can check it out at plotdevices.co. It's a cool tool. It's been pretty useful to me, and I hope that you maybe get some use out of it as well. Thanks so much for watching this first installment of the Writer's Toolbox. Let me know if you want to see more of these, or if there's anything in particular, any tools out there that you'd like to see me talk about. Here are a couple other videos you might enjoy. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time.